Manager of the Year yesterday.
Sadly for Ireland, he's shining in the middle of the field.
I didn't fake an injury, wanker.
Jack Charlton was a World Cup winner and a manager who turned a small nation into a footballing force the world respected. But 5 footballers crossed lines he could never forgive. Charlton believed the team came before any single man. That belief was tested most painfully by Roy Keane. In 2002, Keane walked out of the Republic of Ireland World Cup squad after a bitter clash with manager Mick McCarthy in Saipan. Charlton was no longer in charge of the team, but he still saw Keane's exit as a betrayal of the squad and the supporters back home. Charlton could accept brutal football without blinking. So why could he never accept a man walking away? If Big Jack's old school code still means something to you, use the hype feature and give this video some hype. It helps more football supporters find the stories and the standards that shaped the game we all love today. Charlton had given Roy Keane some of his earliest chances on the international stage, back when the midfielder was still a rising talent rather than a household name. He saw the drive in him immediately, the sharp footballing brain, the refusal to accept anything less than total effort from himself or from anyone around him. Keane had genuine complaints heading into that World Cup. The training facilities in Saipan were poor. The travel arrangements were a mess. The pitches were unfit for a squad about to face the best teams on earth. And the whole preparation felt amateurish for a nation stepping onto football's biggest stage. His frustration with Mick McCarthy boiled over in front of the entire group, turning into a furious, expletive-filled confrontation that stunned everyone present. Keane then left the squad and flew home before a single ball had been kicked at the tournament itself. Charlton did not view this as a brave stand against poor standards or lazy administration. He viewed it as desertion at the worst possible moment. A walkout that left his teammates a man short on the eve of the biggest tournament of their careers. Keane had been shaped by the demands of Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, a club where anything short of total perfection was treated as failure and quietly punished. Charlton's own values were built on something different entirely: unity, sacrifice. Getting through hard times together rather than walking away the moment things stopped being comfortable. To Charlton, no complaint about hotels, cones, or training pitches could ever justify placing personal anger above national duty. Of every offense sitting on his mental list, desertion sat right near the very top, a betrayal that no explanation could ever fully soften, whatever the circumstances behind it. To understand why this mattered so much to Charlton, you have to understand where he came from. He was born in Ashington, a mining town in the northeast of England. At just 15 years old, he went to work down the local colliery alongside his own father, learning the value of hard graft early. That world taught him a simple lesson: the group only survives if every single person pulls their weight. His socialist beliefs and his support for the miners' union only deepened that sense of collective duty. Charlton spent 21 years at Leeds United, where manager Don Revie used him as a defensive enforcer, a player built to break up danger before it reached the goal. Charlton called himself a destroyer, and he wore that title with genuine pride. He believed hard, physical football could still be honest football, provided everyone understood the unwritten rules of the contest. In a famous appearance on The Parkinson Show, he explained the difference between a clean foul and a dirty foul. A clean foul was a fair, tactical challenge. A dirty foul carried harmful intent or plain cowardice. Charlton even kept what he called a little black book, a private list of opponents he wanted to settle scores with, yet his anger always followed rules of its own. Honest physical battles were fine by his standards. Desertion, deception, wasted talent, cheap intimidation, and violence towards supporters were never fine. That code explains his lasting disappointment with Diego Maradona. At the 1986 World Cup quarterfinal in Mexico City, England faced Argentina with everything on the line and a place in the semifinals waiting for the winner. Maradona reached up and punched the ball into the net with his hand, right under the nose of the referee. The goal stood. England were eliminated from the tournament that afternoon. Charlton belonged to England's proud 1966 World Cup winning generation, and the sting of that moment never fully left him in the years that followed. Charlton had no issue with hard, physical competition, because both sides understood exactly what they were walking into when the whistle blew. The handball felt completely different. It was quiet, hidden deception, breaking the rules while pretending not to have broken them at all. Charlton viewed it as a calculated act rather than an honest mistake made in the heat of the moment. Charlton respected that genius completely and never pretended otherwise. But respecting the talent did not erase what had happened only moments earlier. Maradona never showed real regret for the handball in the years that followed, and that lack of remorse only deepened Charlton's disapproval over time. For Charlton, greatness on a football pitch required more than raw skill alone. It required respect for the basic rules that made the contest fair for both sides in the first place. Honest struggle was one thing, built on effort and courage. Hidden cheating was something else entirely, and Charlton never allowed himself to confuse the two, however brilliant the player responsible for it. From cheating, Charlton's frustration turned towards public violence, and few moments troubled him more than Eric Cantona's night at Selhurst Park. Cantona was one of the most gifted footballers of his entire generation, capable of moments of pure genius that lit up English football throughout the 1990s. In January 1995, during a match against Crystal Palace, Cantona launched a kung fu-style kick directly at a supporter sitting in the crowd. Charlton was among those who strongly criticized the incident once the footage became public. There had been provocation from the crowd that night, and Charlton acknowledged that much without hesitation. Still, he believed that retaliating against a spectator crossed a line that provocation could never fully excuse, no matter how personal the insults had been. In Charlton's eyes, a professional footballer carried real responsibility towards the game itself, and towards the ordinary people who paid to watch it every single week. What happened that night damaged football's public image far beyond the walls of one stadium in South London. It brought the entire sport into disrepute in the eyes of millions of people watching at home on their televisions. For Charlton, a player simply could not demand respect from the public while publicly damaging the very game that had given him his platform, his fame, and his fortune in the first place. Genius on the pitch, in his mind, came with a duty to behave responsibly off it. Charlton could understand a player losing his temper with an opponent, since that was part of the honest struggle he had known his whole career. Turning that anger towards a spectator felt like a different offense entirely. One no provocation could fully justify. Charlton's frustration with aggression did not end with Cantona. It found a very different target in Vinnie Jones, a central figure in Wimbledon's famous Crazy Gang during the late 1980s and early 1990s. That Wimbledon side built its entire identity on aggressive, intimidating football, designed to unsettle bigger, more skillful opponents before a ball was even kicked. Charlton understood physical football better than almost anyone alive, having played in one of the toughest lead sides English football had ever produced. His objection was never to a hard tackle played fairly in the heat of a match. It was to something else entirely. In 1992, Jones presented a video called Soccer's Hard Men, celebrating brutal challenges purely for entertainment and profit. The Football Association fined Jones £20,000 for bringing the game into disrepute over the release. Charlton believed physical hardness should always serve a genuine footballing purpose, never simply exist as a product to be packaged, marketed, and sold to paying customers. Turning intimidation into entertainment cheapened the game in his eyes, stripping it of the honesty he valued so highly. It also chipped away at the basic respect that should exist between professional players on opposite sides. Charlton had done a difficult, thankless defensive job for over 20 years without ever turning it into a show for the cameras. That difference to him mattered more than people often realized. Hard tackling won the ball fairly, within the flow of the game. Selling violence as entertainment sold something else entirely, and Charlton wanted no part of that kind of trade. Perhaps no case affected Charlton quite like George Best. Charlton faced Best many times when Leeds United met Manchester United throughout the 1960s, two of the biggest and most successful clubs in the country at the time. He saw firsthand the balance, the vision, and the dazzling ability that made Best unlike anyone else on a football pitch anywhere in the world. His criticism of Best came from admiration, never from a lack of respect for what the man could do with a ball at his feet. Best's drinking, his chaotic lifestyle away from football, and his early decline gradually pulled him away from the very top of the game he once dominated so completely. Charlton had grown up in a world where progress only ever came through relentless hard work and sacrifice, first down the mines and later on the training ground. Watching Best waste such extraordinary natural gifts felt, to him, like a genuine insult to football itself and everything the game was supposed to represent. It also felt like a real disappointment for the working-class supporters who had idolized Best for his brilliance and dreamed of what he might still achieve. On The Parkinson Show, Charlton spoke about Best with real, controlled frustration that was impossible to miss. He clearly loved watching him play more than almost anyone else of his era. Yet he struggled to forgive the choices the man kept making off the pitch, year after year. Best's case was different from Keane, Maradona, Cantona, and Jones in one important way. There was no single defining incident to point towards, no one moment that explained everything. It was instead a slow, painful loss of everything that remarkable career could have become, spread out across many wasted years. In many ways, wasted genius frustrated Charlton more deeply than any ordinary failure ever could, precisely because the talent had once been so completely undeniable, and so full of promise. For all his sharp edges, Jack Charlton was never against hard men. He respected Norman Hunter and Billy Bremner deeply because every battle they fought served the team around them. What set Charlton apart was the consistency of his standards. He judged every footballer by the same simple measures: loyalty, honesty, discipline, respect for the game, and for the people who loved it. Those values came from Ashington, from the coal mines, from Leeds United, from England, and from the Republic of Ireland. His judgments could be severe, and he rarely softened them. But they were never truly random, and they never wavered. His legacy was built on one enduring belief. No player, however gifted, stood bigger than the team or the game itself. Big Jack demanded more from footballers because he believed the sport, at its very best, belonged to everyone who loved it.